Can we speed this up? I have a lunch reservation. Victoria Ashford, 23 years old, doesn't wait for an answer. She's scrolling through her phone, one leg crossed over the other, speaking to the bench like it's customer service. Judge Frank Caprio sets his pen down. Miss Ashford, this is a courtroom. Put the phone away and address the charges. I'm here. Isn't that enough? Her attorney, David R. Hale, stands quickly. Your Honor, my client is prepared to pay all applicable fines and resolve this matter today. Mr. Hale, sit down. This court is not a payment portal. The words are quiet, but they land hard. David Hale hesitates, then sits. Thanks for watching Judge of Justice. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful real-life courtroom moments. Let us know where you're watching from. Caprio taps his pen once. Officer Dantis, confirm we have the body cam audio queued. Yes, Your Honor. Good. Subscribe if you missed Judge Caprio. This one gets uncomfortable. The clerk steps forward. Docket 24 to 10,847, Commonwealth versus Victoria Marie Ashford. Charges: unauthorized use of a disabled and van-accessible parking space, destruction of a citation, failure to appear on 3 summon notices, contempt for prior no-show. Citation issued by Officer Leo Romano, parking enforcement on Wednesday at 9:42 a.m. M. Caprio leans forward. Miss Ashford, did you receive copies of the 3 summons notices mailed to your residence? My assistant handles mail. That's not what I asked. Did you receive them, I guess? You guess, Miss Reyes. Do we have delivery confirmation? The clerk nods. Yes, Your Honor. 3 certified notices, all signed for at the defendant's address. Caprio flips a page. There's also a notation here. Prior advisory from campus parking enforcement 14 months ago. Miss Ashford blocked a loading zone at Brown University for over an hour during a catering delivery. Not a criminal matter, but context for judgment. Miss Ashford, what happened in that incident? Victoria shrugs. I don't remember. Probably nothing. The report says you told the attendant my family donated the library. That's not punishment for today. It's pattern. David Hale tries again. Your Honor, my client acknowledges she could have handled this better. She's prepared to pay the fines and move forward. Mr. Hale, paying a fine doesn't teach anything except how to write a check. I want to understand what happened. Miss Ashford, walk me through Wednesday morning. Victoria exhales, audibly annoyed. I parked in front of a pharmacy on Hope Street. I was inside maybe 10 minutes. When I came out, there was a ticket on my windshield. I tore it up. I didn't think it was valid. You parked in a disabled and van-accessible space. No one was using it. That's not the question. You parked in a space marked with the international symbol of access and diagonal striping. Correct. Yes, but it was empty. No harm, no foul. Miss Ashford, harm isn't just collision. It's denial. Let me read you one line from a written statement submitted by Laura Bennett, a mother who arrived at that pharmacy at 9:51 a. The ramp could not lower. My daughter missed her therapy window. Victoria waves a hand. That's not my fault. She could have parked somewhere else. David Hale objects. Your Honor, we're introducing emotional context that isn't material to the citation. Counselor, access denial is the material fact. Miss Bennett's daughter uses a wheelchair. She couldn't access the building because your client blocked the only van-accessible space. That's not emotional. That's factual harm. Caprio turns to the officer standing near the side wall. Officer Romano, please read your narrative into the record. Officer Leo Romano steps forward, calm and precise. At 9:42 a.m., I observed a silver luxury sedan parked in a van-accessible space in front of Hope Street Pharmacy. The space was marked with appropriate signage and diagonal access striping. The vehicle had no disabled placard or license plate. I issued a citation and placed.
Before we even begin, watch how entitlement walks into court like it owns the place. This is the kind of entrance judges remember, and not in a good way. Notice the body language, the phone, the dismissive tone. This is about to set the entire mood of the hearing. These aren't small charges.
Placed it on the windshield. At 9:53 a.m., I observed the driver, later identified as Victoria Ashford, exit the pharmacy, remove the citation from the windshield, tear it in half, and discard it on the sidewalk. I approached and informed her of the violation. She stated, "This is ridiculous. Do you know who I am?" When I explained the citation was valid, she stated, "Then write another one. My family funds this city." Caprio pauses. Officer Romano, did you perceive that statement as intimidation? Yes, Your Honor. Victoria leans forward. That was sarcasm. I was annoyed. Let's hear it. Officer Dantis, play the body cam audio, just the relevant exchange. A brief hiss of static, then Victoria's voice, clipped and dismissive. My family funds this city. Caprio lets the silence hold for a moment. Miss Ashford, your father is Marcus Ashford, founder of Ashford Innovations, correct? Yes, and your family has made significant philanthropic contributions to Providence, including to municipal projects, correct? Yes. And when you said, my family funds this city, what did you mean? I meant we support the community. Officer Romano, how did you interpret it? As leverage, Your Honor, an implied consequence for writing the citation. Sarcasm doesn't lower ramps, Miss Ashford. Caprio turns to his clerk. Miss Reyes, were there any contacts to this court regarding this case prior to today's hearing? The clerk flips through a log. Yes, Your Honor. 2 incoming calls and 1 voicemail, all from a number registered to Ashford Innovations Donor Relations, timestamps. First call at 10:18 a.m. Second call at 10:47 a.m. Voicemail left at 11:12 a.m. Additionally, we received an email from a civic philanthropy liaison at 10:52 a.m. referencing a quiet resolution. Read the email into the record. The clerk reads, subject case 24 to 10,847 resolution. Body, we understand a citation was issued this morning to a member of the Ashford family. Given the family's long-standing support of municipal initiatives, we'd like to discuss options for resolving this matter quietly and efficiently before it proceeds. Please contact us at your earliest convenience. David Hale is on his feet. Your Honor, my client is not responsible for communications from her family's foundation. This is irrelevant, overruled. Pressures on process are relevant when logged. I'm not accusing anyone of criminal conduct. I'm documenting facts on the record. Victoria shifts in her seat. I didn't ask them to call. Maybe not. But someone thought it would help. Let me lay out a timeline. Citation issued at 9:42 a.m. First call from Ashford Innovations at 10:18. That's 36 minutes. Email sent at 10:52 a.m. Someone move fast. Caprio looks at the clerk again. Is Miss Laura Bennett available to give a brief statement? She is, Your Honor, by phone. Put her through. A woman's voice, steady but strained, fills the speaker. Thank you, Your Honor. My daughter has cerebral palsy. She receives physical therapy twice a week. Wednesday was a critical session. We arrived at the pharmacy at 9:51 to pick up her medication before therapy. The van accessible space was blocked. I couldn't lower the side entry ramp. By the time we found another spot and got inside, we'd missed the first 20 minutes of therapy. The therapist had to reschedule. Access is infrastructure. It's not optional. Victoria mutters something under her breath. Caprio catches it. Miss Ashford, if you have something to say it clearly. I said it was 10 minutes. 10 minutes is a therapy window, Miss Ashford. Miss Bennett, thank you. Your statement is on the record. The line clicks off. Caprio picks up another document. Miss Reyes, these are the 3 summons notices sent to Miss Ashford's residence. Can you confirm delivery? Yes, Your Honor. First notice mailed October 2nd. Signed for October 4th. Second notice mailed October 16th. Signed for October 18th. Final notice mailed October 30th. Signed for November 1st. All 3 were signed by V. Ashford or per V. Ashford. Victoria's jaw tightens. My assistant signs for things, but you knew about them, correct? I don't read every piece of mail. Miss Ashford, 3 certified notices over 4 weeks. That's not oversight, that's pattern. David Hale stands again, slower this time. Your Honor, given the Ashford family's role in municipal philanthropy, we request that the remainder of this hearing be handled off the public calendar. Public proceedings could create unnecessary complications for ongoing civic partnerships. Mr. Hale, sunlight is fairness. We're staying on the record. Caprio fixes Victoria with a calm, steady gaze. I'm going to ask you 3 yes or no questions. Did you park in a disabled and van accessible space without authorization? Yes. Did you tear up the citation and discard it? Yes. Did you ignore 3 summons notices? Victoria hesitates. I didn't think they were serious. That's not a no. Did you ignore them? Yes. Your Honor, this is absurd. Victoria's voice rises. My family has donated millions to this city. We fund programs, we support infrastructure. You wouldn't have half your budget without us, Ms. Ashford. Donations don't purchase...
Unauthorized disability parking alone is serious, but tearing up a citation and skipping multiple summons? That's the courtroom equivalent of lighting the judge's patience on fire. And trust me, Caprio does not play when it comes to access violations. Here it comes, the moment the case shifts from a rich girl inconvenience to actual human impact. Watch how fast the energy changes when a real mother explains the real harm done.
Exemptions, they should purchase some respect. Do you know how much my father contributes to municipal operations? Your salary is paid by taxpayers like us. David Hale stands quickly. Your Honor, my client is I own you. The words hang in the air. 5 seconds, 7, 10, 12. That was the moment money ran out of jurisdiction. No one moves, no one speaks. Victoria stares at the bench, realizing too late what she said. David Hale's face goes pale. Officer Romano stands still near the wall. Then Caprio speaks quietly. Miss Ashford, you own nothing in this courtroom. Not the process, not the outcome, not me. Here's my finding. The evidence supports all 4 charges. Officer Romano's narrative is credible and corroborated by body cam audio, fixed camera lot photographs, the torn citation, 3 delivery confirmed summons notices, and the timeline of Foundation calls and emails. Miss Ashford parked in a disabled and van-accessible space, denying critical access to a family with mobility needs. She destroyed a citation. She ignored 3 summons notices over 4 weeks. She invoked her family's financial contributions in a manner that Officer Romano reasonably perceived as intimidation. Caprio pauses. This court does not weigh cases based on wealth, donations, or family foundation contacts. Borrowed money is not borrowed authority. Miss Ashford, your family's philanthropy does not grant you ownership of public process. Your status does not erase harm. Access is not for auction. He turns a page. I also note the prior advisory from campus parking. That advisory was instructional, not punitive. You were told once that loading zones matter. You chose not to internalize that lesson. Consequences teach what privilege hid. The base fines total $750. Unauthorized use of a disabled bay, $300. Contempt for failure to appear, $300. Administrative fees, $150. Victoria exhales sharply. Caprio holds up a hand. I'm not finished. I'm staying a portion of that total $400 contingent on your full and timely completion of a restorative accountability plan. If you complete it, that portion is remitted. If you don't, it's reinstated and you pay the full amount. Here's what the plan requires. First, written apologies to Officer Leah Romano and Laura Bennett, not form letters drafted by your family's PR team. Real apologies that name what you did and what you learned. You will deliver them in person if both agree to meet you. If either declines, you'll mail them and the court will confirm receipt. Second, 150 hours of community service split between 2 organizations. 75 hours at the Rhode Island Food Bank, 75 hours at the Mobility Access Coalition, assisting with accessibility audits and community outreach. Both organizations will submit attendance logs to the court. No press releases, no photo opportunities. Third, you'll write and record 2 public service announcements for school distribution, both court-vetted on access equity and the difference between charity and entitlement. Fourth, you'll complete a donor influence ethics module covering the separation between philanthropy and public process. Certification of completion will be filed with the court. Fifth, you'll submit a 900-word written reflection on the topic money versus authority, not slogans drafted by a communications team. Plain truth in your own words. Caprio sets his pen down. Mercy isn't a discount, it's a contract. Additionally, I'm making the following recommendations on the record to the Municipal Court Administration and the Office of the Mayor. 1. Establish an ex parte influence log for all cases. Any off-record communication attempts, including from donors or their representatives, will be documented and published weekly. 2. Create a donor contact firewall with required disclosure. Any case involving a defendant whose family has made significant municipal donations must be flagged, and any contact from donor-related entities must be disclosed immediately. 3. Implement mandatory supervisor cosign and recusal protocols. If any court staff member is contacted by a donor representative regarding a pending case, that staff member must recuse or obtain supervisor authorization. 4. Develop disabled bay tow first escalation. Unauthorized vehicles in van-accessible spaces should trigger immediate tow protocols to minimize access denial. 5. Create a municipal PSA series on access rights featuring real testimony from families who rely on accessible infrastructure. 6. Launch a clerk hotline for influence attempts. Any effort to leverage donations, connections, or wealth can be reported anonymously. Every report will be investigated. Subscribe for Judge Caprio. This model protects the system. Over the next 12 weeks, Victoria completes the plan piece by piece. Week 1, she drafts the apology. The court rejects it, too polished, clearly written by someone else. She tries again in her own words. Better. Officer Romano agrees to meet her at a coffee shop near the courthouse. The conversation is brief, uncomfortable, and necessary. Romano tells her, "When you said your family funds the city, you made me feel like my job was for sale. It's not." Laura Bennett accepts the written apology but declines the in-person meeting. She emails the court. She named what she took from us. That's enough. Weeks 2 through 10. Victoria logs 150 hours across both organizations. At the food bank, she sorts donations, stocks, shelves, and assists with distribution logistics. No press, no cameras. One volunteer coordinator tells her service isn't about who sees you do it. At the Mobility Access Coalition, she is.
This is where the legal becomes personal, and personal becomes powerful. And this is the part viewers always ask about: does money buy influence in court? Caprio's about to make it clear. He logs every attempt, every call, every email. Transparency is the disinfectant, and this judge is basically turning on stadium lighting. Freeze this moment.
Assists with accessibility audits at local businesses, learns how ramp angles and door widths are calculated, and schedules community outreach visits. One wheelchair user tells her access isn't a favor, it's a right. Week 9. She records the PSAs. The first drafts are too corporate, too scripted. The court sends them back. She records them again plainly. No branding, no family mentions, just her voice and the truth. The second versions pass. The donor influence ethics module takes another 3 weeks. She completes it without complaint. The ledger is simple. 150 hours logged, 2 PSAs approved, 1 firewall established, 1 entitlement interrupted. Officer Romano tells the court she showed up every time. That matters. Subscribe if you're over 50 and miss Judge Caprio. Should every wealth-based intimidation case include mandatory service? Tell us below. 12 weeks after the initial hearing, Victoria returns to court. This time she's alone. No counsel, no family representative, no entourage. Caprio reviews the submitted documents, the apologies, the service logs, the PSA recordings, the module certificate, the written reflection. Miss Ashford, I've read your reflection. I want to hear you summarize it in your own words. No script. Victoria stands. I thought money meant access. I thought because my family donated to programs, I could park wherever I wanted, ignore tickets, skip court dates. I thought we fund this meant I own this. I didn't understand that public office isn't for sale, it's for service. She pauses. When I told you I own you, I was wrong. I don't own anything except my own choices. Money can build a library, but it can't buy my way out of blocking someone's ramp. I blocked Miss Bennett's daughter from accessing therapy. I told Officer Romano her job was for sale. Both of those things were wrong. What did you learn from Officer Romano? That public servants aren't employees of my family's foundation. They serve the community, not individual donors.
This right here is where everything collapses. One sentence turned a routine hearing into a full-blown judicial earthquake. Judges rarely react visibly, but this line? This line crosses from arrogance to attempted domination. And Caprio is about to respond with one of the coldest, cleanest courtroom takedowns you'll ever hear.
When I used our donations as leverage, I tried to corrupt that. What did you learn from the Mobility Access Coalition? That accessible parking isn't about convenience, it's about math ramp angles, clearance widths, transfer space. When I blocked that space for 10 minutes, I didn't just delay someone, I denied them access to medication. Time is infrastructure. Caprio nods. You stopped trying to own the system and started learning to respect it. He signs a form. I'm remitting $350 of the stayed portion. You still owe $400 total. You'll pay it in installments over 6 months. The court will monitor compliance. As a reminder, Miss Ashford, access is not for auction. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me. Thank the people who taught you what I couldn't. 5 months later, the policies take root. The court publishes its first ex parte influence log. 3 donor-related contact attempts are logged in the first month, all handled transparently per the new firewall protocol. Court staff report feeling protected by the disclosure requirements. The donor contact firewall is adopted across all municipal courts. Cases involving significant donor families are flagged automatically. Supervisor cosign protocols are implemented without incident. Disabled Beto first escalation is adopted citywide. Average clearance time for unauthorized vehicles drops by 47%. Complaints from wheelchair users decrease significantly. The Municipal PSA series launches featuring testimony from families who rely on accessible infrastructure. Victoria's recordings are included, distributed to 31 schools. They're not viral, they're not celebrated, but they're used, and that's enough. One parent emails the court. My son watched the PSA about van accessible spaces and asked why people block them. We had a real conversation about access being a right, not a privilege. Thank you. On a quiet Friday afternoon, Caprio finishes his last case of the week. Before leaving, he writes a single principle on a note card and pins it to the bulletin board behind his bench. Public offices are not for sale, they are for service. He thinks of Victoria Ashford, of Officer Romano standing in a parking lot with someone's wealth thrown in her face, of Laura Bennett's daughter waiting in the van while therapy minutes ticked away. He turns off the light and locks the door. Dramatization for storytelling and education, not legal advice or reporting.